Hey, I'm Walter, and this is my Jeep. It's a 1966 CJ5, and it was probably one of the first ones to be sold in the state of Kansas with a V6 in it. Ooh, very nice. Now, being a 1966, this features a lot of old school tech. It's got a dual barrel carburetor on it, mechanical timing with a distributor, a directly driven fan, and it's even got this silly little dryer vent right here that I use for the heater box. And like most old tech, especially from the 60s, this thing's worn out. So far on this channel, I've already done several things to this Jeep, including putting on new wheel bearings, new front brakes. Well, those exploded, but that's another story. I've rebuilt the transmission and transfer case. Even off camera, I've done that a couple more times. And it seems like no matter how much work I put into this Jeep, it's still gonna have more and more problems. But lucky for us, that means that we have more of a journey to go on, and that this has more journeys to go on itself. Together we're gonna continue to work on this Jeep and see how many more years we can get out of it. And really, I think if we do it right, it's probably going to be quite a few more years. I'll share with you guys now a quick overview of everything that I've done so far.
How's this sound? Is this good? Is this better? I don't know. Maybe this is better. Yes, this is editing Walter. I'm editing right now. You know, editing Walter really gets to see it all. Like when the first thing that he sees in his B-roll is the spark plug wire is coming loose on the #1 spark plug. That's great. First thing that I had to work on was the engine. It didn't crank. It turned by hand. Fogged the cylinders, cranked it over. It was fine. Got a new battery on it. It still didn't want to go. And so I just decided, all right, well, I'm going to pull the heads off and see what's going on. Got new head gaskets on it. The next thing was the carburetor. I have cleaned this thing and rebuilt it a few times. One of the things I noticed the last time I rebuilt it, whenever we hit the gas on it, the accelerator pump would spray down the barrels of the carburetor, and there was this thin extra stream that was coming out of the sides of one of them, and turns out there's supposed to be a paper rubber gasket that goes between those two. And speaking of paper rubber gaskets, there's one missing on the top of the carburetor for the oil bath air filter. So let's go ahead and make one of those.
Now, since I lost the gasket for the oil bath air cleaner, I guess I better make a new one. Well, there's all kinds of materials that you can use to make a gasket out of. There's paper, cork, and in a lot of cases when you're making a gasket, you're going to be using a sort of paper composite. Now, this is the gasket material I have. It's a standard Felpro rubber fiber sheet. Now, if you have any kind of question as to what kind of material you should be using to make your gaskets, you see it has a suggested list of different applications you could use here. And it says for sealing oil, water, or gasoline. So this will work just fine for our application.
So the first thing that you'll do is you'll take the paper rubber gasket and you'll set it around the surface of whatever you're trying to do. In this case, I'm trying to find the inside diameter that will go around the opening of the carburetor. So what I'm doing here is I'm just pressing the gasket material around that inner ring, and that's going to create a nice outline for me to be able to know where I need to cut for the inside. Now for the outside, since it's got to have a certain thickness, I'm going to find something that's around that same size. So I'm going to set that about best I can around the outside of that ring, and I'm going to use a pen and just make a little circle. And then you just get a nice pair of scissors. You could even use a knife if you wanted to, but I find scissors work so much better. If you use a knife, the material is so thick. So I make a nice circle around there, follow it as best I can. And then if you don't have a big hole punch, a trick that I like to do is make a little X with a box cutter or any kind of pocket knife. And then you can cut that out into a little box, get your scissors through, and then you can start cutting out a little circle. And there you have it, something that'll be good enough for sealing up the carburetor to the air filter. One of the more recent things that I did was putting on new intake manifold gaskets. When I originally put the heads on, I didn't factor that in. So after going through a few weird running condition issues, got those gaskets and the new rubber pieces that went up front, sealed them up. Does it run better? Maybe. Are there other factors that are causing it to run bad? Maybe. All that being said, I think those spark plug wires are kind of an issue. They don't really fit that well, and I think I could get a better set. So maybe the Rock Auto Special wasn't the best move this time. So if you guys have any recommendations for better plug wires, then I might just have to do that. Original water pump that was on it was leaking, so I went ahead and got a new water pump put on there. Really wasn't too much of a chore. It even came with new bolts. So I put that sucker on there. Of course, new radiator hoses to go along with that, new heater hoses, and the heater core itself, in fact, was busted. There was a big crack running through it, so I had to get a new heater core in there. I wasn't getting spark when I tried to start the engine for the first time. What I eventually found was that the points on the distributor were really yucky. So I just took a little bit of fine sandpaper, around 600 grit, sanding them boys smooth, and in the wise philosophical words of a boomhauer, man, dang old thing, man, just go like click, click, boom, just like that, man, just like dang old. Saliva? That's the name of the band? Okay. I didn't realize I had to look up who made that song. A few of the gaskets and seals, like the PCV O-ring or grommet, couldn't find one of those. So I just layered a very, very generous, because I am a generous man, glob of RTV around it, and boy oh boy, does it sure seal. Same with the other valve cover. What is it, like another PCV type beat on the other side that goes to the air cleaner? Moving underneath the car, naive boy, he decided, oh, OEM was cork, I had to use cork. And what's the one thing cork doesn't want to do? Seal. And it looks like we might even have a little bit of a crank seal seep. Should change this shirt. There we go. Is that better? I think that's better. And boy, oh boy, you can see that I have continued the notion of being such a generous person. And there is RTV all over this transmission and transfer case. And yeah, the places that I RTV'd, it doesn't leak, but everywhere else that I didn't, yeah, it still leaks. It's probably the third time that I've been inside of this thing trying to keep it from leaking fluid everywhere, and it still finds a way out every single time. I believe the places that it's still coming out of are the speedometer gear. I finally got a new tail shaft and a new companion flange. So those aren't leaking anymore, which they were profusely, but I can't put on my new parking brake, so that's a little bit of a bummer. Slider into gear and have no fear. And as far as leaks not depicted here is the master cylinder itself. I was saying about front brakes being another story, and brakes in general. Yeah, the master cylinder has a nice drippy come out of it. When my wife and I were on our honeymoon, we towed the Jeep up to Colorado, and I went to go start it one morning, and I was like, oh, the pedal's going like halfway down to the floor. It wasn't doing that before. Took off the accessory panel, looked in there as best I could, and sure enough, there was no brake fluid in the reservoir. The brake lights themselves don't work. I know the bulbs are good, and I'm pretty sure the housings are alright, which they're very rusty, so that could very well be an issue. I'm pretty sure that the brake switch itself, that is part of the master cylinder, is totally busted. I ain't got no brake lights. As far as the exhaust goes, it's one of those things that was new in the 90s, and it is certainly not new anymore. My generosity is unfathomable. I mean, I don't think you guys really understand how generous I am. Decent globs of RTV all over these flanges, all over these puppies, trying to get them to seal up, and they're leaking so much less than they used to. But still, we got some exhaust leaks, and I've got a couple plans for that. What would you guys think of making some long tube headers work on this puppy? Maybe an X-pipe? I don't know. Hot rod it out? The tires, when I got it, were another thing that was new in the 90s and not so new once I got it. For about $200, I got some nice Toyo all-terrains from a buddy of mine, threw them on there, and I don't know how tall they are, because people seem to really care about that. They care about height. Hey, Video Walter, how tall are those tires?
What you doing? Are you still filming? Oh, is that on?
30 inches.
30 inches.
Okay. Thank you, Video Walter.
I think it's pretty clear that there are a lot of things wrong with the Jeep. I'd love to know what you guys think of the Jeep, and I'd love to know what you think I should do to it, and the things that you think I should tackle first.
What do you think, Camera Girl?
I think I'm hungry and I want steak.
Okay. Let's go get you some steak.
Is this your, so this is your first video back, right?
It's like as soon as I try to think of words, it's just like blank.
Yeah, it's because I'm so strikingly beautiful that I'm just taking the words right out of your mouth.